Hello, my name is Tucker Johnson, and I am your host today as we experience NIMSY Live, where we talk about the latest and greatest in translation, localization, internationalization, culturalization, and all that fun stuff global companies need to delight their international customers. On this program, we invite guests who like to have fun and have some value to add for our audience of globalization professionals. I'm always eager to provide a platform to those with a good story or a good data set. So let us know if there are any topics that you would like covered or guests we should reach out to for future episodes. And if you haven't already, make sure that you are subscribed to NIMSY Insights. We are coming to you live today on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all of that stuff. If you're joining us live, then you can join us in chat, and I'll try to make sure that I'm following along in chat so that we can address all of your questions, comments, and concerns. Without further ado, let's get into the topic today. Today, we are talking about something that's becoming increasingly uncomfortable for a lot of localization teams. Fluency is no longer a reliable signal of quality. In fact, we're having conversations about what is the meaning of quality and what is the role that it plays moving forward. As machine translation gets more fluent, it's also getting better at hiding serious problems, meaning shifts, regulatory risk, and subtle errors that slip straight past human reviewers. So the question we're asking today is a simple but important one. What if AI is actually better at judging translations and generating them? My first guest today is Marco, CEO of Language Check AI. We're going to dig into how large language models behave different when you use them as evaluators instead of generators, why translation is fundamentally a generative task, but quality assessment is a discriminative one, and what it means for real-world QA workflows. We are also joined by Greta Cavaliere. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Greta, I'm sorry. She's a project manager and language analyst and translator with a master's degree in specialized translation, who will be walking us through some demos so that we can look at some actual use cases and tools here. We're going to be looking at those use cases, terminology enforcement, online post-editing, cat tool integration. We're going to be walking through a short demo. And we're going to show you how this actually looks in production. It's not just theory. It's a score. It is not just quality scores for the sake of quality scores. It's a system that can help better support business decisions. So I hope I did that justice with my introduction. Marco, Greta, welcome to the show. What did I get wrong? What do you have to add? Take us away here. And I know you have an introduction for us as well.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting us. It's a great opportunity to be here, and it's nice to talk about this topic, AI in translation. There are many people talk about it. There are many people scared about it, and I think we can try to add our 5 cents. So before starting the conversation, I would like to start with a very short video, which we came up with some of our teammates a month ago, and I thought there is somehow a link to what we are talking about. So I will share the video.
Hi, I'm Richard, this is Sarah, and we're going to perform the amazing colour-changing card trick with this blue-backed deck of cards. Now the idea is very simple. I'm just going to spread the cards in front of Sarah and ask her to push any card towards the camera.
Right, okay, let's see. I'm going to go for this card here.
Okay. Now Sarah could have selected any card at all from the deck, but she selected the card which is now face down on the table. And what I'm going to ask her to do is show us which card she selected.
Right, so the card that I chose was in fact the 3 of diamonds.
The 3 of diamonds, okay, an excellent choice. That card goes back into the deck. Now I'm just going to spread the cards face up on the table. Do a little click of the fingers, and you'll see that Sarah's card here has now got a blue back. Not particularly surprising. What's slightly more surprising is all of the other cards have got red backs. And that is the amazing colour-changing card trick.
All right, so.
So that's it.
All right. So I'm curious. Tie it together for us now. While I get you all put back together here.
Yeah. So why we started again with this video? We started with this video because there is a way of showing, how your brain works. The first time that I watched the video, I was not able to spot, the difference that have been highlighted at the end. And we thought that when we talk about translation, produce a very fluent translation, and it's quite similar. It's very difficult to spot mistakes in machine translation today because translation is very fluent, and there is a sort of connection with the video. It was quite nice. And another thing that I was thinking about during the last weekend, thinking about this webinar, is that there is another analogy, another very similarity about doing the post editing today on machine translation, which is it's like that game. I think it's called Spot the Difference, where you have to compare two similar images, pictures,
Right.
and you have to find which are the difference, between the two. And it's funny, but if you think about that, it takes a lot of time to do that.
Right.
And today, having fluent translation, it's it's much more difficult today to spot mistakes among the translation, comparing the source with the target. And so you end up by thinking that machine translation may help you, helps you in terms of reduce the time, so getting money on that in that sense. But all the time that you gain by using machine translation, you lose it because you have to spend more time in reviewing the translation more carefully.
Well,
because it's much more difficult.
Here's what I'm seeing with not just with machine translation, but with all sorts of different applications of large language models and AI out there, is it's making it possible, feasible, and even desirable to do things that 5-10 years ago just weren't cost effective, right? So we're talking today about AI for quality evaluation, essentially, right? Now, I've run a lot of different localization programs in my career. I can count on one hand, probably with one finger, the number of programs that I've run where we did 100% quality evaluation, because it is incredibly time consuming. It is incredibly labor intensive. You need to make sure you have the expert resources. Those people cost money, and it's for whatever reason, right? Now we have, so what happens is you typically run QA on 5-10% of the content that you're pushing through a large scale localization program. You're doing sanity checks to make sure that the quality's up to snuff, right? Now, what I've seen with recent technology innovations is, no, there's actually good automated QA tools out there that aren't just rules based. We had those forever, right? But there's good automated QA checks out there that can actually mean I can put 100% of my content through some form of QA. Maybe I still have 10% that goes to a human to look at, but most of it can go through a machine. That's just been my observations.
Yeah, the point today is that if you use AI for machine translation or for during the QA of translation, you generally base your engine on LLM models, so large language models. And by definition, they are based on approximation. They try to predict what a possible answer. They produce a likely fluent answer to your question, whatever the question is, and they try to guess. They are getting better every day, but they are not 100% reliable, as you said, and that's because of the nature of LLM. And so on one side, there are customer side and a lot of people thinking that with LLM you can do machine translation of you can use machine translation on everything, but you can't. Machine translation can be very helpful on certain kind of situation, but not on other. It really depends on the quality that you expect from the translation, and it's quite the same if you use it on QA in terms of reliability. It's not 100%, but it performed better. Why? I would say that even in life, our life, it's always easier to judge instead of doing something. Is you don't have to be a chef to evaluate a meal. You don't
Right.
have to be to evaluate a book, and it's always easier to judge, evaluate instead of. And even with LLM, it's easier for these engines to evaluate an existing content instead of generating a content. So 3 years ago, we started from this point. ChatGPT 3 was was public, and everyone was talking about AI, and we thought how to use AI in our field. There were many other thinking about using AI for machine translation, starting from DeepL, Google, large companies with a lot of resources. And we thought that it would have been better to use it as an evaluator, and because of the reason that we were talking about. And so we started from there, and in a couple of months, we also came across an interesting paper, was written by Cockney and Federman, February 2023, and it was saying the same thing. So AI is better at judging instead of translating. And it is an interesting paper, because they were comparing, the generative approach for translation, so that it must generate a current and fluent translation, compared to a different task, which is evaluating an existing content, source and target, with a discriminative task. So it's not generative. You just have to say is good or bad, and how is good, how much is good. And LLM, like probably human people, are much better in doing that. Is reading and judging is a better behavior. And so we thought, okay, that's the good path. There are obviously other companies doing that, but they were mainly focused on evaluating translation by using a score, even today. And score like from 0 to 100, and even in the paper of Cockney and Federman, they were focusing and doing the benchmark against other other models by using a score. And we thought that it was quite tricky. It's not easy to understand how much is the quality of a translation by reading a score like 45, 67, 75, 80. It's just saying the translation, it's quite good, it's bad, but it doesn't tell you anything else.
This has always
So
been the challenge with quality,
yeah,
just to be clear.
yeah,
Because in order to measure it, we want to objectify it. And how do we objectify what is inherently a subjective thing, right? So this has always been, I mean, LQA scores are just a fancy way to try to convert a subjective impression of quality, because that's what quality is when we were talking about language. It's an effort to convert a subjective impression into a numerical value that can be tracked with bar graphs, because managers like bar graphs. That's what LQA score is, right?
yeah. So on our side is we thought that it was not enough. A score is
No,
not enough.
no.
And we thought that instead of using a score, it would have been better in our mind, to make it simple. So try to evaluate the translation in this case with in three different way. One is a good translation. So we said that's a flawless translation. And there is a second case, which is the translation is understandable, is not the meaning is correct, but there could be some error, mistakes, and it certainly needs improvement. And so we said the evaluation would be needs improvement. And there is a third case, which is the translation is not correct, the meaning is not correct. And for that reason, we said, okay, we will define that third case as incorrect meaning. But again, that's not enough. If you tell a translator or someone who is reviewing the translation that's incorrect, that needs improvement or whatever, it's not so different from a score. So we decided
Well,
to add.
you keep saying like that's not enough, right? We have
Yeah,
X,
yeah,
but that wasn't enough. And then we have Y,
yeah,
but that's not enough, right? And I'd just make the argument or provide some color commentary here that it never has been enough. This isn't new, right? It never has been enough. It's just been the best we could do or the best we could afford, right? Because there's that cost benefit analysis that needs to happen. And now with new technologies, that cost benefit it's tilting that cost benefit analysis, because you're
yeah,
able to do more with less.
yeah.
So
Indeed.
expectations around quality aren't changing. It's just that our ability to meet those expectations well, I would say expectations around quality are changing. They're actually going down. That's another rant that I go on from time to time. But my point is, you're still expected to give the same level of quality. It's just our ability to meet those needs. We have new tools that we didn't have 5 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, and that was our experience. And when we started 3 years ago, we started to do that, and we started to use AI to analyze tons of segments in different languages to understand, how much was reliable and so on. And last year, after nearly 1.5 year of developing and testing and so on, so in 2024, we decided to start with an interesting project with a US company, and we decided to clean up their translation memory.
Mm-hmm.
And what was a good case, because was 170 translation memory in more than 30 languages.
Okay.
And in order to do that, you should have used reviewers, months of works,
But
lots of money, and so on.
this is exactly the type of thing in my career managing localization for different clients. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to a client that had a translation memory that was just gigabytes and terabytes, but they couldn't use it because they couldn't trust it. Because 7.5 years ago, there was a bad vendor or whatever, right? And the answer to that traditionally was, all right, well, let's do a translation memory cleanup where you literally paid someone to review the entire translation memory or teams of people to review it, right? So that didn't happen very often. Now it's totally feasible to leverage AI to clean up your translation memories. Just to be doing, hey, it's better. If you don't trust it, okay, don't trust it. It's not going to be perfect. Neither are humans, though, by the way. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be better than nothing, right?
Yeah, and on the other side, using AI, it also helps you to spot, some of the possible issues in the translation memory. So it will be easier to show the customer and persuade the customer to do that job,
Yeah.
because you can highlight quite easily, sorry, what are the kind of error that they have in their translation memory. And when they see it, oh, that's really bad. So how much it will cost to do that, how much it will take. And instead of saying, 6 months, you can say 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And instead of 300,000, it will be costed 20, 30,000. So it's another scale. And that was really an interesting test. And indeed, at the end of the test, when we provide the customer and their vendors with all the report about the quality of translation, or so segment per segment, source and targets, highlighting the ones with the issues, after the job, some of the vendors decided uh, to talk with us. They called us and they asked, why don't you give the same tool to us to use it after each translation? So we started by thinking about translation memory, but we end up by developing a tool that today is tailored for translators, freelance translators, and LSPs. So we are mainly focusing on analyzing bilingual file, obviously, because we need to understand to analyze source and target, and it's much easier when you work on XML. And that, as we will show you shortly, it's also easier for the user to export the file, analyze and import again, or work inside the environment and so on. So by using bilingual file, it's much easier. And we before we release uh, language check in October, uh, we started uh, to run some tests with the external LSPs and translators at the end of May. So we had nearly 4 months of test, and what we realized that they were very happy. They were saving times. They were doing a very good job in terms of uh, the were we will see that after they will make more money, they will increase the productivity and the profit, and you don't have to think about a perfect tool. You need to have a tool that really highlights what really matter from your point of view in terms of what does needs your attention.
Hmm.
So think about 100 segments. If you have 30% of them that need to be revised, you will save a lot of time. So at the very beginning, you said it, today with AI, you can focus on 10%, of uh, of mistakes or of translation. In our experience, it is a bit more than that, but in any case,
I was
you
being
don't have to.
dramatic.
Yeah.
I was exaggerating for dramatic effect. But yeah, 20-25%. Right.
Yeah, but it's a great game. It's you can save a lot of money, a lot of time, and as we will see,
Yeah.
it also highlight issues that might be very difficult to spot without investing a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's like the video, the card trick. If you don't pay a lot of attention, which you need mistakes with the AI, you can spot them. For sure, you will have some false positive, but if you have to focus just on 25-30%, it's you're back on the path on the game.
Well, and also it's like especially with specialized translations and specialized content types and verticals and stuff like that. It's hard. There's always just been this challenge of finding a translator with the right qualifications, expertise, and experience, and who knows the specific terminology and stuff. And the way that the industry kind of works is there's translators that are specifically specialized in avionics, right? Like building airplane. That's what they translate. They translate airplane manuals, right? There are other translators that are specialized in pharmaceuticals, right? You see what I'm saying? And people can have different specialties, right? But it's always been hard because you need to match the specialists with the project. And one thing with AI is you can get that at scale. And I'm not sitting here saying AI is going to beat a human expert. That's not what I'm saying. But at scale, AI will beat one human expert, right? And it can have a lot of different specialties. You don't need to spend this time finding
Yeah,
the perfect person for it.
and what really makes the difference is adding an explanation of the possible error. That was what we decided to do. So adding to a first evaluation an explanation of why that translation is incorrect,
Mm,
why it needs improvement,
to
what
help it.
kind of error,
Yeah.
you know, that really speed up the process because you don't have to think about or spot what kind of error because you have already there you have the explanation, wrong or right. You read it and it's much faster. But maybe we can see some example with Greta that she can show you how it works.
Yeah, I kind of want to jump to that here. Greta, are you ready? Yeah, let's pull this
Yes.
up here.
Hi everyone, and thank you for inviting us again. I'm gonna show you how our tool works. The tool is named Language Check, and it doesn't get tricked by fluency. I'm gonna show you a little demonstration of the translation workflow that you might adopt, and then I'm gonna show you also some examples of sentences translated by MT that were processed by Language Check, just to prove a little more the point that sometimes fluency can actually trick you. So this is the interface of Language Check. Here you can start a new check and you can upload a bilingual file. I'm gonna upload, just for the purposes of this demonstration, a small file just to speed up the process a little. I have an STL XLIFF file here. In this window, you can also upload multiple files. The only important thing is that you only upload files with the same language combination, obviously. If you're a pro user, you can apply some filters. For example, depending on your workflow, you can decide whether you want to check all the segments included in the document you uploaded, only the locked segments, or only the unlocked segments. And you can also restrict the scope of the segments checked by indicating the percentage, for example, compared to the match that the segment had with the TM. You can add a term-based file. This has to be on the first column and target terms in the second column. Unlike other tools, language check manages to deal with also synonyms. If you have synonyms, you can put them in the following columns. You also have the possibility to enable advanced checks. For example, source and target inconsistencies. And if I might say, this actually works better than standard QA checks. Why? In particular, I'm talking about the source inconsistencies, because language check using AI obviously understands the segment, so it's not going to highlight all those segments that have the same translation and different source segments, just because they differ for small things, but only the one who are real inconsistencies. So you basically will avoid all false positives that are triggered by standard QA checks. You can also check target length. Imagine you're translating software strings and you have some restriction for the number of characters of the target segments. You can enable this check in our tool as well. By default, the language check provides you with the explanation of the mistakes as English. But imagine you are a Russian translator, a Turkish translator, and you are more comfortable with your own language. You can easily change that from here. And you can obviously also modify the name of the check you are running. In this tab, we're going to see a preview, sort of recap of the file that we uploaded, with the number of words, the number of segments, and the language combination, which is automatically detected by the tool. And just for the purpose of this demonstration, to keep it brief, I already run the check. You see the status is completed. You have the same recap again. In addition, you also have a preview of how much effort on your part is needed. As Marco was explaining, the flow lists generally are those segments that don't require further correction on your part, further work on your part. Then you have the needs improvement and the incorrect meaning, which are supposed to be corrected in theory. And you also have the indication of the number of words. So by looking at it, you know more or less how much time it's going to take. When you get to this point, you have different ways of working. The standard way, if you're not a pro user, is to work on a report Excel. I'm going to show you how it looks like. You're going to have the source segments and the target segments and the evaluation that we were seeing in the graph. Here, you can decide, for example, just to filter and see the incorrect meaning and the needs improvement. Then you have explanations of the minor errors present in these segments, of the major errors, and sometimes if the tool detects that there's a flow issue, you also have some suggestions on how to improve the fluency of your target segment. If you're a pro user, you have other two ways of working. You can start post-editing the file you uploaded online on an environment which is in language check as well. You have multiple options of filtering the file. If you want to check just the needs improvement, just the incorrect meaning. You want to see, for example, at first just the segments with minor errors, and then you can modify directly in this environment the segments. I'm just going to write some random letters just to show you how it works. So it changes background color as soon as you type something in, and as soon as you get out, it automatically saves. Then let's put the case that you modified a few segments. Based on the comment, for example, here I inserted the space that was missing between the number and the unit of measurement. I did some modification. By filtering for modified segments, I can take a look of what I modified. And At the end, I can export the XLIFF that I had uploaded with all the modifications that I did. You can decide also to check language check as last modifier, because in some tools you can also filter the segments but modified by a particular user. So this might be useful in that case. The other way of working that you have is getting an annotated XLIFF. What does it mean? Basically, by clicking here, you will download and you will decide whether to want to lock the flowless segments as well. You will download your XLIFF file, in this case STL XLIFF file, which will remain exactly the same. But as a plus, as an addition, it will contain those explanations. Sorry. It will contain those explanations that I was showing you in the Excel file as comments. I'm gonna show you in Trados how this looks like. Here, the segments that contain comments are highlighted. Depending on the severity level, they might be highlighted in orange for the needs improvement and red for the incorrect meaning. In the comments tab, you're able to see these comments. You will see that the author is language check, and you have various options to filter these comments. For example, you just want to see the warnings, which correspond to the needs improvement or just the incorrect meaning. And you have a way of working on these segments by taking a look at the comment and correcting it directly. What is the advantage of this way of working? The fact that you can really combine language check with the cut tool of your preference. For example, if you're using a TM or multiple TMs when dealing with a project, you also have a term base, for example. By working in your environment, obviously you can have your TM and your TB in use, for in this case in Trados. So let's put another case. You are working on a file, and you retrieved from the translation memories everything that could be retrieved from them, and you decide to check just the unlocked segments because you lock everything that came from the translation memory as you're sure that the quality of that is good. You process the rest of the segments with an empty, and you just want to check those with language check. Then you can bring your file back to the cut tool, and you can still take a look of your TM, perform some concordance search while doing the modification that language check detected. So I believe that this is a better way to integrate the cut tool and language check. And since we were talking and the main focus of this talk is fluency, I just wanted to show you just 2 sentences that were translated from English into Italian by machine translation. He smiled politely, trying not to show how deeply the remark had hurt him. I don't know, many of you are Italian speakers in the audience, but I can really assure you that the Italian translation is fluent, is grammatically correct. It seems like perfect from a grammar point of view and also from a stylistic point of view. So just by reading the Italian translation, no one would spot that it actually contains a mistranslation. In the English sentence, there's the verb hurt. Well, in Italian, the verb infastidire means more to bother, to be annoyed by something. So actually, there is a semantic drift from the source. Here, there's another case. When she spoke of her father, her voice softened, as if the memories themselves were speaking through her. Also in this case, Italian translation perfectly fine, grammatically correct, fluent, absolutely fluent. But in the Italian translation, the memories are talking to her. So there's a shift here also in meaning and in who is performing an action. So I just wanted to prove a little more the point that fluent doesn't mean correct. And if you don't have questions, I'm gonna give the floor back to Marco to continue with the explanation of what we did with language check.
No questions from me so far. No questions from chat. I've been watching chat. No questions from me. This, I mean, looks amazing. With the caveat, I'm not the right guy for this. I don't think I'm your target audience, let's just say. So maybe I don't know what questions I should be asking. So chat, help me out if you're watching this. If you have any questions, feel free to jump in.
In the meantime, so what we have seen is a tool that can use AI for support translators or language service provider in speed up the process, increase the productivity, detect possible error that otherwise you will miss. So it's again, the way that you can use AI can make the difference. I've been to US during October to Lockwood and ATA conference to meet people and talk about our tool, talk about the situation. And I've seen a lot of scared, people. And I think that after 3 years of studying, developing AI with in our tool, we think that we don't have to be scared about that. For sure, our job is going to change. The way that translators, their job is going to change because of AI, because of machine translation. But now we have an opportunity to become again, part of the process, add our value, because AI is not enough. A score is not enough. You can't use machine translation and a QA alone, together, but without a reviewer, without a translator at the end. Really depends on what you need, obviously. If you have to translate a tender in Korean and you don't know Korean and you want to understand what it's about, you can use machine translation, and in a few seconds you have an idea of the content. But if you want to attend that tender and you want to participate and send a document in Korean, I don't think you can rely 100% on machine translation or QA. It's you need translators to revise, to check what has been already done, translated.
Sorry, I was on mute here.
If you like, we can also talk about some example. During the last 3 years, I said, last year we started by analyzing some translation memory, help customer to clean up the translation memory.
Okay.
But they are, and we did the same with other customers. So on one side, for sure, you have customer that are not investing on quality, on translation quality.
Okay.
For sure, we all know that. But on the other side, we realized that we were able to do, as you said before, something that was not possible in the past. I don't think that 5 years ago we would have, a confirmation from one of our customers to do that, because of time, because of cost, because
Well, 5 years ago, they just would have chucked the translation memories and started over, probably, right? That because the cost to do anything with them would have exceeded the potential gains on it, right? So that would have been a hard conversation. Do we chuck these and start over, or do we invest in improving them? Can they be improved even, or are they beyond repair? I mean, I guess technically nothing's beyond repair with the right budget, right?
Yeah,
But,
that's it.
But now we don't need to have that hard conversation. Well, I guess we still need to have a conversation, but there's a third option, which is, or do we take this third option?
Yeah. And so on one side, we are losing opportunity, but on the other side, there are new coming up. So even for translators and freelancers, I think by using machine translation, but this kind of tool like language check could also be used with the standard translation. You know, if you have to revise a human translation, we had a feedback last week from a translator who has tested our tool for nearly 2 weeks on her translation. So not on MT, not by doing the post editing. And she was saying that she was a little bit ashamed because the tool was able to spot some error that, you know, she was a bit embarrassed about that. So
Well,
it's
and to which I say, welcome to the club, right? Because I fancied myself a decent writer, communicator, whatever you want to, I fancied myself a wordsmith of sorts prior to ChatGPT, right? Like I've written books and articles and look at me, I'm a fancy pants writer guy, right? Then ChatGPT comes on and I put some of my stuff in there and it starts pointing out all this stuff. I'm like, ah, shit. I may be a writer, but I'm a shit one. Because it's pointing out all of these errors, right? So, and this is what I always think about when we have this conversation about when will machines get to human quality, right? Well, if you're using me as your standard for human quality, I would expect a little bit better of my machines, frankly.
yeah. Yeah. But the point is that the combination of two is it could really empower, the final delivery. You can improve the quality of your process, of your output, and that works even better with machine translation because think about uh, reviewing, as we were saying before, 30%, 25% of the segments instead of 100%. That means that you can more than double your productivity in one day, which means money.
Yeah.
So why should we have to be scared about that? I think the point is understanding how to use it properly, you know. So that's interesting.
Well, and
So do we
regardless of what role, even if you're a like you mentioned, even if you're a translator, you should be using AI, right? Because I think when translators, I hear a lot of chatter from linguists, about not being incredibly happy with AI, right? And I think a lot of that is because AI is being imposed upon them, like rather. But and it is, and that sucks. I acknowledge that, right? But I would ask them, what are you doing to embrace AI, right? What are you doing to, like, are you using tools like this, for example, in your day-to-day work? So,
yeah.
I'm just checking the time here. I'm keeping an eye on the clock, and I don't know if you had final points that you wanted to get through here, but any closing argument here, and then I'm going to ask, of course, where can we find more information? How do we get in contact and all that stuff?
So for sure, if you go on languagecheck.ai, you will find all the information about this new tool, and you can write to us, you can test it, you can register it for free. You will have a 500 words for free at the very beginning, and you can also use it. An interesting tool that we have featured that we have developed in order to spread, the word. So if you send an email to your colleagues, translator colleagues, you can gain more words for free. So that's I think it's an interesting way of trying a new tool and see how you can fit in your workflow. It's how useful this tool can be for you, because at the end of the day, it's all matter of producing translation, reviewing translation, words. You have to charge on words, and the more words you can process, the more money you can do it. And if you have a tool that can increase your process, your workflow, your productivity, it's I think it's worth to try it. It's and on the other side, it will also be very useful to have a feedback from you, like we had from the translator that I was talking about before, because it's an ongoing development of the tool. We started 3 years ago. AI engine are changing, and we always update and test with new engine, trying to understand how we can improve the tool. But don't expect to have a perfect tool that detect 100% of possible error, because we're talking about language. Language is not science, is not mathematics. And if you give a translation to 10 different reviewer, you will get 10 different evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is having a tool that really helps you to spot possible error, increase your productivity, and get back on the track.
Very cool. Greta, any final words? Thank you so much for walking us through that demo.
No, it was a pleasure. No, I just wanted to say
That was
that
like the smoothest demo I've ever seen. Like something always goes wrong when you're doing, so that took guts to do a live demo, and it went perfectly.
thank you. Really nice of you. I just wanted to say, because I'm a translator as well, don't get tricked by fluency and let AI help you. Because in this case, we're not trying to substitute the translation. It's just a tool that actually can really help you. If you are a human translator, if you do the translations themselves, you might ponder to use language check for those who are really important, for example, where you really don't want to have some mistranslations, because it's your name there, it's your career, so it's also important from that point of view. And we all make mistakes, so even if translations are done by humans, they might be wrong in any case.
Thank you, Greta. See, I love that. Thank you for bringing the linguist, the translator perspective, because I can't do that. I was never, well, I was, but we don't talk about that time. I should have never been a translator. Let's put it this way, right? So I can speak from a business management. I can speak from a project management. So I really appreciate that feedback to help kind of put some of our linguist listeners at ease. Well, Marco, Greta, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to start taking us out here. Stick around, and we can chat a little bit after the show, but I'm going to wrap us up. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, ladies, gentlemen, chat. We are out of time for today. If you enjoyed this NIMSY Live experience, then join us next time on Thursday. I think I might be doing another demo. This is demo week for NIMSY Live. So come join us on Thursday. You can go to our LinkedIn page, check out our events tab, and sign up so that you'll be notified when we go live. I appreciate our guests today, Marco and Greta. I appreciate my colleagues here at NIMSY Insights doing all of the hard work so I can have these fun conversations. And finally, I appreciate you, the audience, who are joining us live today, or who are watching the recording. And I look forward to next time. Cheers.